Okay. Good morning. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the organizers for thoughtful of organizing a webinar on this topic. We were understanding what all was happening in the country, but thinking of children and what would have happened to them. So that's actually a noble thought indeed. So I congratulate Hope Organization, Mr. Victor Raj, and all those who are part of the team of organizing this very, very important webinar. I request the person who is handling the IT kindly take out those who are entering the waiting room, because it's appearing on my screen. So can you please take care of that so that it doesn't appear in the screen?
Ma'am, actually, that is only, this is a single host package. So right now, only you will be able to do it. And, yeah.
Okay, because it's coming. Okay, then, well, coming to the, we know there are several studies and reports which were coming across the world very clearly says that the COVID pandemic crisis, it will result in economic slowdown, that we are already seeing it in our country, and it would push children into the labor force. They have really foreseen such things. And who are the worst affected? In any such scenario, it is the poor children, the poor families, the marginalized, socially excluded. They are the worst affected. And some of the studies also mention wherever the population of youngsters, the youth and children are more, there is a likelihood that they get affected much more. Then I was quickly looking into the population of India. The children below 18 years constitute 44 crores, 41 lakh 53,330. So therefore, it is likely to affect India, which has this huge population of children below 18 years. Okay, this is already in this desktop. I don't need this. I don't need this. Sorry. And presently, because we have to look into the backdrop and see what is happening. So 10.1 million child labor as per the census 2011. So that, girl children 4.5 million and boys 5.6 million. And if we look into the younger age group, even 5 to 9 years, 1.1 million. That is the kind of scenario we have. Even the very young children are working for more than 6 months a year. You can see the main workers, which is in orange color. And that is the huge number. And very often when we discuss about census, it could be a gross underestimate, because when we all know that child workers are basically drawn from laborers' family, they would have gone for work, and therefore probably the children, many children have not been captured because they are not there when the census surveyors or investigators, they go to collect the data. As I was telling, it is the impoverished families, the indigenous communities, the marginalized, those who are struggling with multiple disadvantages, children who are being brought up by elderly grandparents. Because I was reading the newspaper in Madurai, the children, 3 girl children, they didn't have parents. They were living with a very old grandmother. So அவங்க பூ தொடுக்க ஆரம்பிக்கிறாங்க. இந்த டைம்ல அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு வழியுமே இல்ல. அவங்க பாட்டி வந்து வேற இடத்துல வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு இருந்தாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு கண்ணு தெரியாம இருந்ததுனால இந்த குழந்தைங்க பூ தொடுத்து 30 ரூபாய் ஒவ்வொரு நாள் வாங்கி அதுல வச்சு அரிசி வச்சு சாப்பிட்டுட்டு இருக்காங்க. So that is the kind of situation it affects. And as we all have been seeing in the TV, because of the lockdowns, the informal economy workers, the loaders, unloaders, those who are self-employed, the casual laborers, the unskilled workers who have been working in piece rate basis, women workers, migrant workers who are from different parts of the country, the garment workers, which is closer to Pondicherry, construction, manufacturing. Suddenly, all of a sudden, they have to be, they have been asked to leave their homes. They have to leave their work. Then workplace closures had severe impact on informal sector workers. So what happened? They have all their savings gone off during the first lockdown, and they have nothing to survive themselves and provide for their family. Then when they don't have work, when they don't have wages, they had hardly anything to provide for the family. They don't have money to spend for medical care, food and non-food items. So there was a big struggle, and children were adversely affected, and they keep facing the financial stress because the trauma also, because some of the parents have died of COVID. So children were literally on the street as destitutes. Then there were neglect and abuse because we know their children, sometimes the predators are very much inside the house. So therefore children have to cope up with all kind of difficulties in the absence of social networks. They could not go to the neighborhoods, and with the falling of local economy, then the situation is more and more children could be pushed into hazardous work, basically from the backward regions, which are very much evident through the news which are coming from the ground level. And sometimes they could not even access relief material because the necessary documents were not available. And with the lack of human resources, it's very difficult to reach remote places like tribal areas, scattered villages. It's a big challenge. And how to reduce vulnerabilities? Before that, we could also see the UNICEF data also says that all the efforts which have been put in the past may gone down the drain, because there is gone down the drain because there is going to be millions of children who are going to pushed into the labor force. Then that would also result in perpetuation of child labor. We were talking about prevention and elimination of child labor because from the 2015 earthquake, it also shows that because the public protection mechanisms were not functioning, it resulted in trafficking of children. It's not only during the COVID period, we also know it's not only the corona, but also Amphan and Nisarga. Since Mr. Victor has asked me to give a national perspective, and the climate crisis which had happened also became a very big impediment. The hailstorm which has happened, which really destroyed all the crops in many parts, and they were literally facing flood in some parts of the country. All this has resulted in pushing children into the labor market. The Amphan, which has taken away the roof of the poor children's home. And we could also see that the crops, because they were relying on the agriculture, they were relying on the harvest, the crops have been damaged totally. So again, the locust attack on the crops, all this have added to the misery. And I was talking to some of the children in West Bengal. So they sent these photos, some of the teachers, they have sent these photos. Their schools were damaged. Either they are waterlogged, or the building, building fall and all that. So children could not go to school. Not only that, the death and hunger because I was told children used to go to the special training centers or the schools asking if there are food available. Almost every day they go and ask, we are very hungry. Is the food available? Then they say, no, midday meals was not there. So very many children, they went into rack picking. Children who were studying, I'm talking about children who were studying and in school, because of the lockdowns, rack picking is the only work available. So they went for rack picking, and many children, I mean, these are all evidence from the field. Liquor bottle, they picked up the liquor bottle for selling, and slowly they added whatever leftover liquor in the bottle. Then they started drinking and getting into the habit of stealing. Some of the children, they have gone into a dysfunctional borewell and cut off the copper wire, and police caught them. And some of the teachers have to tell them that they were in school, but because they were out of hunger, they could not bear the starvation. Therefore, these children went and collected it. And many children, this, I mean, death and hunger. Here again, the newspaper clipping I put, 12-year-old child. She didn't have anything to eat, and she died of hunger. Then children, this is the time the traffickers were very active and trafficking children and pushing them into work spots, and simultaneously pushing the girl children into brothels and other places. So probably we need to have a identification system rather than going for a massive survey, which would involve a lot of fund. I think if organizations like Hope and Campaign Against Child Labor, if they can mobilize the youth and collect the data, only all that we need is age, male, female, the age, gender, then what is the occupation that they are doing, and what is the situation at home, and the complete address, so that whatever help, whatever benefits of the government or otherwise could be reached, that could be reached. Because rather than waiting for a survey, what we have to do is immediately identify children who are in suffering. And it has to be done rapidly, because we cannot wait. Otherwise, many more children will be pushed into brothels. Many more children will be pushed into hazardous occupations. And the trafficking could be across the borders also. And we have to protect them from violence, because child labor is the most violated of the child rights in India. Children need to be counseled because they are undergoing a lot of trauma, a lot of pains themselves. They are exposed to abuses, violence, and they were made to work for long hours. All these are happening. So therefore, we have to address it immediately. And whatever social protection, we have to focus on the children and the child labor families. Cash transfer could be the best way to help them. And also, not even one child should be left out from learning activities. Then we have to also access all the, help them to get their whatever ration card, whatever card, Aadhaar card, because very many children and the families even now do not know what is Aadhaar card is all about. The begging children, because very many children, I also came to know yesterday, I was talking to some of the district level people, they were telling that children, when they were hungry, when they came to the centers, non-formal education centers, repeatedly, when they didn't get anything, they went about begging in the streets to quench their thirst and hunger. So probably we need to reach out. What about our children who are specially abled, physically challenged? And there was a big question. What would have happened to the single migrant children when there was a sudden lockdowns and everything was closed and nobody was interacting? Then what would have happened to those single migrant children? And this is the time to ponder about such children who are very vulnerable. So it's not one particular prescribed measure. We have to bring in all kind of measures together and raising awareness simultaneously, even though they are poorest of the poor, because we know education now is more relevant than any time before. Then this is the time, like programs we need to work towards sustaining the programs. We have to review all the typical structures which are there, which would be for a kind of normal situation. Releasing of funds, timely releasing of funds. And those who are working, if they don't get their honorariums, how are they going to take care of the children when they themselves are starving? So timely release of funds, rather than putting, okay, only this should be the periodicity, after that the child should be mainstream. Because these children, when they are illiterate, when they are never enrolled, they need to be approached with a lot of sensitivity. We need to take care of the basics, creating an enabling environment. And the Child Labor Prohibition, Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act also says any person. So I think everyone should get involved in preventing for the sake of children, with a partnership, with a networking, monitoring whether they are being properly rehabilitated, capacity building, mobilizing all kind of resources, whether it is from the community or from the exporters, business class, everyone. I think we need to have more and more people joining in towards addressing the issue of child labor. Not even one could be left out for prevention and elimination of child labor. There are some government organizations, the line department, they have a very specific role, because when children are being trafficked for child labor, anti-human trafficking, then the traffic police who is there, he'll be able to see. யாராவது சந்தேகத்துக்குள்ள குழந்தைங்களை கூட்டிட்டு போறாங்கன்னா டிராபிக் போலீஸ்க்கு தெரியும் எங்கேயோ கூட்டிட்டு போறாங்கன்னு. அது மாதிரி ரயில்வே போலீஸ்க்கு அவங்களுக்கும் தெரியும் இவ்வளோ நிறைய குழந்தைங்களை போலீஸ் யாராவது கூட்டிட்டு போனாங்கன்னா they'll be able to locate. And we know it is, they have to, if at all they have to traffic through a bus station, through railway station. So they all have a very important role. Then missing children, we know the Nitari case, which is only 2 kilometers from the place where I am sitting, where a large number of children were missing, and most of them are children of the migrant workers, and those children were, most of them were domestics. So missing children units have to be very actively play a role. Then all structures of the Women and Child Development Department, Child Line, child protection units at all level. In the tribal areas, the tribal development units, rural development, because they'll be able to identify rural development and Panchayati Raj, where people are migrating along with their children or single migrant children, whether the rural development, the Constitutional 73rd Amendment Act and Constitutional 74th Amendment Act, because we have to also involve urban development and poverty alleviation, and also the Panchayati Raj institutions, right from the village panchayat, even up to the hamlet level, we have to start. ஊரக வளர்ச்சி திட்டத்துல இது வந்து ஒரு அங்கமா வச்சு குழந்தைங்க யாராவது, அதாவது அந்த ஊர்ல பிறந்த குழந்தைங்க பர்த் ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷனை பார்த்து அந்த குழந்தைங்க இப்ப என்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க, மைக்ரேட் ஆயிட்டாங்கன்னா எங்க இருக்காங்க, என்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க, எக்ஸ்பிளாய்டேஷன்ல இல்லையான்னு அதை கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமானது. Then education, because education is an antidote for child labor. So we all know children, every child has to be brought into mainstream into educational system. And more than ever before, we have the school management committees, self-help groups, because the adult women can play a very vital role, and we need to have Anganwadis, Balwadis, so that வேலை பார்க்குற விமனோட குழந்தைங்க பால்வாடியில இருந்தாங்கன்னா அங்கேயே அவங்கள குழந்தைங்களையும் அவங்க பேரண்ட்ஸையும் தயார் பண்ணணும். இதுக்கப்புறம் அவங்க வேலைக்கு போகாம குழந்தைங்க ஸ்கூல் கண்டினியூ பண்ற மாதிரி. Then all civil society partners, I know they are also facing a lot of challenges these days, but they are the catalyst, because without civil society partners, government programs cannot be effectively implemented. They can be implemented, but not effectively implemented. If the objectives of the development programs have to be achieved, it is only possible with a partnership of civil society organizations. So therefore, government should also bear this in mind to encourage, motivate, facilitate the work of civil society partners. And what would happen if we don't attend to the children? The early aging, because They're already prematurely leading an adult lives, exposed to all kind of abuses, all kind of habits. Because if we don't address it now, then wherever there is pockets of concentration of child labor, there'll be pockets of concentration of all kind of criminals. And we are seeing in the newspaper what is all happening, what was happening in Uttar Pradesh, all that. So they completely dissipated of their energy. Their growth will be wasted and stunted. And all kind of occupational disease like silicosis, pneumoconiosis, and asbestosis, and very many of these diseases are incurable. They're also exposed to other diseases like bronchial asthma when the children work constantly, when they constantly dip their hands for taking out, some of the chemical related products, they get dermatitis. And if they work in glass industries, then they have to inhale, they have to handle potassium cyanide. If they are involved in electroplating, then all the concentrated acid which may fall on their limbs and damage because children, they are not able to judge their bones and muscles and tissues, they are in the process of development. If that is interfered with already malnourishment, the ill-ventilated, ill-illuminated houses, when they work in unhygienic situation for long hours, for low wages, in situations damaging to health, when they are separated from parents, all kind of traumatic situation if they work. Because in we just completed a study in Jaintia Hills where children go down the mines with a slippery ladder because Cherrapunji is close by. So it is 60 to 100 and over 100 feet depth. If the child who is going sideways to extract coal from the mines, which is called rat hole mines, then if the child falls, one cannot go and pick up the child. So that is the kind of situation which I was writing to someone. I have never seen such danger, more danger ever before. And because whatever I'm sharing is basically my own visit to all the states of the country, having seen children working in 1,600 degrees centigrade when they have to involve in molding process of the brassware industry, or blowing the molten glass liquid for making bulbs. So loss of childhood, loss of youth, and all kind of excitement will be lost forever. Thank you so much once again, the Hope NGO, and I thank Mr. Victor Raj and all his team for this wonderful opportunity. And I'm sure with a lot of passion and compassion, we will ensure that every right of every child, and also protect them from all kind of situation which will damage their life, their limbs, and which is not good for a country like India. Thank you once again. I thank the participants for patiently listening. Thank you. If there are questions, I'll take it up. Thank you.